This is the GTN Show. Welcome, and this week I want to say welcome to our special guest. We have pro triathlete Fraser Cartmell.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Fraser.
No problem.
Yeah, well, Fraser has just come back in from a rather cold race at the Ironman 70.3 Weymouth event over this weekend. So we're not only going to be chatting about the race itself, we're also going to be discussing whether there is a risk to athletes when events get that cold and whether they should be cancelled.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to hear about that later on. And also, I'm hoping you've warmed up a little bit by now, Fraser.
Still shivering.
Hate to tell you, we are going to be heading outside for the feature of question time. And then after that, we've also got a brand new news feature, so keep an eye out for that, as well as sharing your photos. We've got plenty of race results and more. Well, as Mark has touched on, the weather last weekend was a little bit unseasonal. We are still only in September, so we'd like to think that it's going to be warm and nice for a little bit longer. But as Mark experienced from the sidelines, and Fraser, you experienced firsthand, it was pretty abysmal. Tell us how Weymouth was for you as an athlete competing.
Yeah, Heather, I mean, it was definitely the worst conditions I've ever raced in, and I've raced for quite some time. It was just not only the cold, it was the driving rain, and then the wind that really sort of created this melting pot of really tough conditions. My saving grace was the fact that the course just goes up pretty much for the first half. So you're climbing that bit, working maybe a bit harder than you might be, and as soon as you had a little bit of a downhill, you could get really cold. And I know one or two of the other pro men at least had to just pull out because they just got so cold. So,
well, I was actually down there spectating, cheering you on, and I've got to say, even as a spectator, it was pretty grim. I wasn't having a very nice day, so I really felt sorry for you guys out there. How did your race actually go, and I mean, what did you see going on around you with all the other athletes?
For me, I mean, I'm quite a strong swimmer, so I didn't find the chop and swell that we had in the water, which wasn't awful, but it was, wasn't flat.
But they shortened the course, didn't they? So
sure.
Was it 950?
Yeah, we did a half distance instead of the full because organisers were worried about the impact that was going to have on the masses who were going to be in the water for a lot longer. So you're right, just a 950 swim. Came out in fourth just behind Will Clark, and I was quite happy with that. Started the bike and just didn't have much power. Probably nothing to do with the cold, just being a bit slow. And then found myself in a small group of three with Sam Pictor and Sam Proctor for the remainder of the bike, and then just started seeing poor athlete after poor athlete waiting. I saw George Goodwin standing on the side of the road. I saw Will Clark trying to fix a puncture. Niels Fromhold shivering to a standstill. So really thought, geez, there's almost nobody left.
Yeah, well, we were trying to track you guys around the bike course, so I saw you all flying through at about 20k, looking great, but everyone was shivering on the bars. And then at about 80k, we were expecting to see Will Clark come through about 3 minutes ahead of the guys we last heard. But obviously by that point he'd had a double puncture, stood on the side, shivering away, and then Niels came through, not looking great himself. George was nowhere to be seen.
No.
Will then came through about 5 or so minutes later, came to a stop beside us, we had to put a coat on him. It was like, it looked a really tough day, and then obviously Niels pulled out.
And certainly in that instance with Will, I felt for him because trying to fix a puncture at any time of the year is pretty hard. When you're freezing cold, hats off to him because he did fix it, I think, didn't he? He managed to get to where you were.
Well, I think it happened to one of our work colleagues had a double puncture. He did manage to finish, but he was saying it was the most horrific race that he'd done.
Yeah, I mean, there should have been medals just for people managing to finish that race in addition to the finisher's medal.
It takes a new meaning of finisher medal, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did your run go anyway in the final part?
I held my position, came off the bike in fifth, and I ran okay for 10k, but then I think just that whole cold, every muscle in the body just seemed to seize up, so managed to finish and held fifth place. So pleased to finish, but what an experience.
Yeah.
Well, I bet. Yeah. Well, on that, we kind of want to ask you guys what you think to all of this. So we're going to bring in our GTN poll now. So we're going to ask you, do you think a triathlon should be cancelled if there is a risk to athletes getting too cold, like you had at the weekend? If the conditions look like they could put athletes at risk, is it actually upon the organisers to cancel the event?
Yeah,
so simple yes or no. You can enter that by clicking just up here. Okay, well now for last week's poll, where we asked you, should all triathlons have a rolling start? And this sparked quite a debate.
It did. The comments after the show were quite interesting to read. A lot of people supporting the mass start and saying, that's what triathlon's about. As soon as the starter's gun goes, you are racing. You're in that race. You know where you are. But then other people saying, rolling start because it isn't about physical contact triathlon. It's about swimming and having enough space to be able to swim your own race. So who knows?
Well, we have the results here.
We sure do, and actually 48% of people thought that yes, we should have rolling starts, and the remainder 52 said that we shouldn't.
Okay, last week I pulled out a few questions from our videos over that past week, and I answered those whilst I was out in Germany. So here is this week's question time. I've picked out this first one from Arjem Kimga, and they're wondering, is front crawl actually fast? Is that why everyone's doing it? And how do I improve my breathing so I don't end up out of breath? Well, in short, yes, front crawl is quicker. That is why everyone does it. But this holding of the breath, or sort of becoming breathless, is actually a really common question. A lot of people struggle with this, and essentially what's happening for a lot of people is it's kind of a mental battle. They feel like they need to gasp for breath, they hold their breath, and actually it kind of makes things worse, because what you're doing is you're creating a lot of tension in your upper body that then actually restricts your movement and your technique. It also actually, because you're holding your breath in your upper body, it changes your buoyancy. So you've obviously got a lot of air in your lungs, so then your upper body sort of tilts upwards and you begin to sort of drag your legs. So you're making it a little bit harder for yourself. Now, what you should be aiming to do is actually trying to trickle your breath throughout the stroke. So when you take a breath, as soon as your head goes back into the water, you start trickling that air out through your nose or through your mouth. Now, we try to recommend through your nose in a similar way to as we explained last week with the flip turn. But if it comes out of the mouth, that's absolutely fine. If it comes out of both, also fine. How you do that, I'm not too sure, but just make sure it's trickling out throughout the whole stroke. In essence, what we're aiming to do is have this continual sort of movement of the oxygen in and out. If you start holding your breath, then actually you start to get this carbon dioxide build up within you. This will happen a little bit longer over a longer period of time, but it does start to feel quite uncomfortable. Right, next question. If they're using a full disc rear wheel, how do they pump it up? Because often it's quite hard to get in there with a valve. You've got a small opening. Again, you can get these foam sealant canisters with a 90-degree angle on their valves, so quite easy to get in there. If they are going for a full replacement, then also CO2 canisters or CO2 bombs, very easy to pop in there, because again, they've got that 90-degree valve to get into that small gap.
Great, well Mark, thanks for doing those earlier. But I've also noticed another comment that was left after your transition video. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but you were demonstrating a very good single leg lock-off. Well, Fraser, what do you like at posing on a bike?
To be honest, I've no idea, but I can give it a go. See if I can trump Mark.
Yeah, I think you and I need to head outside and see if we can better that pose.
The naked ankle flasher. Come rain or shine, a triathlete's ankles takes the burden of the weather with hardy attitude. So why not show them off with this fabulous ankle show-off stance?
The Superman Social. Having trained hard, a rest from the saddle need not be time wasted. Why not have a chat with your fellow cyclists while still working on your aero tuck?
Right, well, given that there are 3 of us this week, we thought we would mix things up a little bit for the news section. So we've made this into a bit of a competition. We have each picked out a couple of news articles from the week of triathlon news, and we're going to post them up one by one onto our little board here. And at the end of each round, we're going to pick out the best news. So should we go for it? Round 1, Fraser.
Sure. So
guest first, I think.
my first story that I've got here this week is, it's quite an interesting one. We've got Lionel Sanders here. You can pop up here. So, Lionel is very well known, noted for doing all his training solo, largely indoors really, does lots of stuff on Zwift, does lots of stuff on the treadmill, and obviously you do that on your own. But as he does for all his World Championship Kona builds, he's on the island already prepping, but he's taken a training partner this time. So he's got Corey Belmore, who's a very, very good runner. I must say I hadn't really heard of him before, but he's actually current B-mile world record holder.
Very cool. Okay, Heather.
All right. Okay, I'm going to add a bit of female touch here with some glitter because we have Lauren Steadman. She has just started on BBC's Strictly Come Dancing, which is a British-based programme, if you've not heard of it before, but it's basically about 10 weeks of celebrities competing it out to get that glitter ball at the end. So she's just come back from Australia, having won the PTS5 para-triathlon title, has literally got out of her tri-suit and straight into sequins pretty quickly. And I think it's great not only to see Paralympic sport on the limelight on mainstream television, but also triathlon. It's great for us, I think. So yeah, good luck to her. Let's hope she's as good at triathlon, I mean, as good at dancing as she is at triathlon.
Brilliant. Well, I've been quite smart here. I've gone last, so I go, I can choose.
I know, I saw that one. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go for this one, and this is from Ironman Maastricht. Can you give me a hand here? We have a disqualification from Ironman Maastricht, which, well, the event happened just over a month ago now. We had Els Visser cross the line first, and Sonja Bracegirdle came in third. But what I didn't realise at the time was that actually there was a little bit of confusion as to whether first and third had done the full course. And it appears that after the event, having watched the video footage, that Els Visser and Sonja Bracegirdle had actually cut part of the swim course. Not much, but enough to sort of put them about a minute in the lead coming out of the swim. And obviously completely changing the dynamics of the race. Now, in their defence, they say they were sort of led off course by a kayak or an official.
Which is a problem when you're following somebody you think is going the right way.
Exactly, but obviously it does really influence other people's points and rankings, and one of those is Angela Nath. So she and a few others have protested, and
she finished third?
She finished fourth. And so now she's been upgraded to third. So no, sorry, she was fifth, so she's been upgraded to third. And yeah, this now allows her to go to Kona, to the Ironman World Championship. So I think we need to call in the cameraman here to choose out.
Adjudicator.
What's the call?
Oh, I think the fingers are going that way. He did get the advantage of going last, didn't he?
Yeah, well played.
I think that's 1-0 to Mark. All right. Well, right. I think that means you've got to go first this time. So come on, what have you got?
Well, I've only got one. So, well, this one, everyone knows that I like a bit of tech. So,
That looks like art rather than
Let me explain. So,
look how excited
we have Interbike going on at the moment, which is an annual cycling trade show which takes place in North America, where we see loads of new tech, bike products being released. This first bit isn't necessarily a bit of new tech, it's actually just some flipping cool artwork. Some artist from the area has actually just spray painted a specialised Shiv triathlon bike with Wonder Woman all over it. And, well, it's pretty distinctive. What do you think to that, guys?
I mean, it's a head turner. I'm not sure I'd be so happy.
It's not always good turning heads, is it? It's not necessarily always a positive thing, but
I think it's impressive. I'm not sure I'd go ahead and ride it. But anyway, another bit of tech that I did see there was the LEM Motive Aero helmet. So this is a new aero helmet from the brand. And the idea, it's quite special with this, is that it's got an attachment on the back. So you can actually adjust if you've got sort of a good sort of aero tuck with your head, or maybe you haven't, you can put this sort of like adapter in and it's just magnetic.
It's kind of, that kind of sounds like a bit, you know, it's like, look at me, I've got a bad aero position, here's my massive tail that I need to like fill that gap. Kind
Embrace
of
it.
Could be some pressure on you getting your position home just so you don't need it.
Well, yeah, good incentive, I guess.
Yeah.
Following on from that, as we talk about helmets, I did spot Joe Skipper. He posted up a picture on Instagram of him wearing his Enduro helmet, but with a custom add-on. So it was a carbon fibre.
I hope that Joe keeps the same position for the whole bike ride.
It was very aggressive.
Yeah.
And then following on from that, he also said that he's going to be running one bike with a 60-tooth chainring at Kona.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Fraser next. It's my turn to get last.
So I've got, which is it's very inspirational. It's Alex Zanardi, pop this here, who has just recently broken the hand cycle para world record, smashed it in fact, 30 minutes off his previous record at 8 hours 26.
Yeah.
Ironman Italy this previous weekend. For those of you that don't know, perhaps Alex raced F1 in the early 2000s, had a horrific accident, lost use of his legs, became a multiple para gold medalist at London and then Rio Olympics, and now he's moved over to long course racing and doing it exceptionally well. So
cool. Well, on the back of that, maybe I should have gone before. But anyway, I've got this one talking about long distance triathlon and Kona. This is news that another pro is injured. So it's Helle Fredriksson this time. She was saying her prep had been going amazing. It's her first time training to go to Kona. She's had a really good year. She won the long course ITU World Championships, and then suddenly pain in her foot out on a long run, and it turns out that she's got some serious injury that means she can't really. Well, she's basically not going to be able to run until today at Kona, pretty much. So she's resting, but she's still going to go. It's that that fine line, isn't it?
Especially with Kona, because it's World Championships, and you find so many athletes are trying to find that little extra, whatever that extra is, to try and get there. And sometimes, as you say, you fall over the cliff instead of just teetering on top.
I think she's still trying to teeter, so we'll see how Hella gets on. Yeah.
Okay, well then, results for round 2, cameraman.
Fraser. There it is, Alex Zanardi.
Yeah,
I think you were okay on that one.
To be inspired by Alex's story.
So inspirational.
Well, that rounds that up, and 1-1-0. Well done, boys.
Got it.
Yeah. Nice one. Well, we really enjoyed doing that, and we'd love to hear from you guys what you thought of this new section to the show. So do drop them in the comments section below.
Well, guys, as you both won, I lost. I think you get to stay and do race news, and I get to go and do the coffee run. What do you want?
Okay, well now for the race news, and first of all, thanks to Heather for our coffee.
All gone.
Yeah,
all gone. Done.
Gone, yeah. But let's start with Ironman 70.3 Weymouth, which Fraser, you got to experience firsthand.
Yeah, and as you say, experience really grim. Worst bike ride I've ever had in a racing condition. So hats off to everybody who got around there on Sunday. Yeah,
and as we mentioned already, swim was shortened to 950 metres. We saw Elliot Smells come out in the lead almost with Nils Fromhold, but actually not a great day for Elliot. To begin with, he actually was struggling a little bit on the bike. I believe you spoke to him.
Yeah, I think he just wasn't having the day that he's had in races earlier this season, where he's been really prominent towards the front of the race. But on Sunday, just the nature of people having bad days in front of him came back to him.
Yeah. So what we saw is Will Clark, Nils Fromhold, and George Goodwin come through, take sort of the lead on the bike. Will actually start to push ahead, had a 3-minute advantage at one point, and then suffered with a double puncture, and as a result ended up very cold as he was trying to fix that with relatively minimal clothing. Then Nils pulled out, then George pulled out, and then we saw Elliot come through and eventually going on to take the win at the end of the run. Sam Pichter took second and Sam Proctor third. The women's race though was equally as exciting because we saw Indy Lee, who's brand new to long distance racing, having come from ITU WTS racing in the past.
A previous European triathlon champion.
Yeah, exactly. She's the first 70.3 and she made quite an impact. She led out of the swim, as expected, perhaps didn't blow the world apart on the bike.
No,
she was very
I think she, and by her own admission in the prize giving, which I listened to her speak at, she really wanted to be conservative on the bike, which, we can all totally understand. Our first long course race is a big deal, so fair play to her because it allowed her to execute a run that meant she won the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we saw a real battle between Fenella Langridge, Nikki Bartlett, and Indy Lee, and Indy started coming through towards the end. She took the win, and then it was a sprint finish between Nikki Bartlett and
you had them both on the carpet at the same time. You had literally a sprint, which is as close as you can be. So great race for those two girls.
Yeah, Nikki took second, and then Fenella third. Well, now let's head over to the Beijing International Triathlon, where we had a really hot field because we had a lot of the big contenders from the WTS Grand Final in the Gold Coast heading straight over to Beijing.
It makes sense to try and race the week later and you're in the same part of the world. Although, totally different format, non-drafting, Olympic distance, but it's a tough event. I did it 5 years ago, the Beijing race, and hot, humid conditions, almost like a cross-country type run from memory. Tough event.
Okay, so how did it go down in the women's race?
So you were led by Lucy Hall, which was nice to see her back racing at a high level because she's been having some injury problems, I think, over this year. So good to see Lucy back in familiar territory, leading out over about a minute on a group with Ashley Gentle, Barbara Riveros, Paula Finlay, big names. And in between that group, you had Non Stamford. So leading off the bike was still Lucy, Non holding second, but Ashley Gentle running through and winning the race, with Non taking second and Lucy Hall holding on for third.
Well, in the men's race, we saw Johnny Brownlee taking the win overall, which I'm sure is quite a relief for him, having had, not his best season.
No, he's not won anything, and these are the guys that he's racing, at the WTS level, so really, really good for him, I'm sure, to get a confidence boost and take a win against guys that he's, racing all the time.
Yeah, definitely, and he came out of the swim in third place, 10 seconds behind Henry Schoeman, so no surprises there on the swim. And then off the bike, he was fourth behind Henry Schoeman, Christian Blumenfeld, and Ben Canute.
But quite a loose group, I think.
Yes, yeah. So I think, there was a little bit of time between them. And then he ran through and took the win. And then we had Christian Blumenfeld coming through to take second. And in third place, it was Henry Skuman. And we should probably mention fourth place finisher,
Alistair Brownlee got there, yeah.
Well, now for Ironman Italy, and in the men's race, it was Lucas Voigt that led the swim out. He had about a 2-minute 23-second lead over a big group of 10 guys, which had the likes of Andy Bokra and Giulio Molinari. And those two actually joined forces to then power away from that group and try to take the lead on the bike.
Yeah, and I think it just became a case of that trio, to be fair, with Lucas Voigt hanging within reach, I think, but Andy Bokra hitting T2 with a big margin. Giulio Molinari starting to fade, eventually dropped out in the marathon. The race then became quite open, really. Andy Bokra just extended his lead once Molinari was out of the running. And two Germans, well, fellow Germans even, to get a German clean sweep of the podium, pulled through with Michael Runes in second and Julian Mutterer finishing in third.
Brilliant. Well, in the women's race, it was the Daniela Samler show, really. She basically had a 5-minute deficit out of the swim and then just powered away on the bike, took the lead by halfway through the bike, and it was just the Daniela show from there on. She took the win overall, and in second place it was Gabriela Zelinka, and in third it was Bianca Stura. Well, now it's time for the Caption competition, and last week's Caption comp photo came in from the Gold Coast from the grand final.
Yeah, well, we had some fun ones, and this first comment you're going to have to bear with us for a moment because apparently it requires some singing. We're going to go for a team effort here.
Ready?
So, Mark, take it away.
3, 2, 1. Triathletes go.
Half.
Horse goes.
Nay.
Triathletes go.
Half.
Horse goes.
Nay.
Triathletes go.
Again, half.
Horse goes. Come on.
Nay.
I think that'll do.
Brilliant, well done,
Good
mate.
effort, Fraser.
Start of the show there.
Thanks.
Not my
that isn't the
favourite though,
winner, yeah.
not my favourite. We had another one from Ian Ashpole, said, enthusiastic fans shouted themselves hoarse at the IT World Finals. Very clever.
Like it. Well, our winning caption, though, goes to Josh Greeley. Now, bear with us. Hopefully you have heard of this certain TV programme from Australia, because the caption is, this is far more exciting than Neighbours. Well, Josh, well done. Make sure you get in touch to claim your free cap.
Brilliant. Well, for this week's Caption competition photo, funnily, I picked this photo out not knowing it's actually Fraser.
He says that. I'm sceptical, but you know, I'll believe you.
It's brilliant though. I did actually see a couple of people coming out of the water with seaweed all over them over the weekend, and so did you, Fraser. This is brilliant.
Yeah, adorning the new look.
Super.
Yeah.
Well, please do drop your captions in the comments section below.
And no more songs, please. Right, it's time to have a look at some of the photos that you guys have sent in this week. And the first one that caught my eye is this swimming picture. And it's kind of relevant after last week's poll with what looks like a mass start here. This has been sent in by Wayne, Wirral Triathlon in West Kirby. Bit aggressive, but fun was his description of the start.
Does look aggressive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks borderline hectic to me.
There's definitely a washing machine going on there, isn't it? Next one is in from Stefan, and this is them riding their Ridley Dean in Belgium.
This looks a little bit more relaxed, doesn't it?
Nice canal towpath.
Lovely. Yeah, they said this is their view when I'm almost home. Just turn right, 500 metres further, and I'm home. So.
And we've also got Tobias's Felt IA 10 2018 edition. Taken in Thornley Island in Emsworth, yeah. Sorry, my
Your geography down
my
south,
English
not-
geography not the best. Sorry. He's been out exploring local area, finding new roads in the Thorney area, and found this secluded beach, which does look like a nice place to stop. And
Well,
he's
lovely
popped
bike
down
as
his distance ridden there and had a good hours riding. So good work.
Yeah, nice Zip 808s there. Aero bottle set up. It's a good looking bike, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Very
stunning.
nice. Got a transition zone here.
Well, this one's been sent in by Anatoly. The 2013 Cannondale Slice RS Ultegra with Planet X 82s, 101s, deep section wheels. And it's from the Malta 2018 Sprint Triathlon Championships.
Nice, and they managed to get a
Yeah,
PB apparently.
Very neat transition.
That is, a little towel out, so it's explained in my transition video recently. About
Helmet facing the
Wash
right
it.
way, so you pick it up and it goes straight on your head. Everything's been thought
and
about.
using elastic bands on the bike shoes. They're going for a flying mount there, clearly.
And we've also got Daniel's Specialised Shiv TT, taken in Payton, Devon. After enjoying my long weekend holidaying in Devon, I ended up racing at a sprint triathlon. Lucky you.
As you do on a holiday.
Managed to finish 39th from 140, so well done, good effort, and learned lots of lessons before Cotswold 113, which is next June, and I've heard that's a really good race apparently.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, that's dedicated being on holiday. Down in Devon, that's where I'm from. It's beautiful down there, but I wouldn't recommend taking a TT bike because it's also pretty hilly and just happen to have it, in your car ready for a race that, I don't know, dedication.
It's a nice setup though, isn't it? It's a really good looking bike, nice colour work. And look at the setup with the towel down there. It's all very neat, isn't it?
Looking excellent.
Slick. Well, finally, we've got a pain cave here, and this comes in from a name I can't pronounce.
On, I was going to leave that
I'm going to say Quatak, but I'm sure it's probably pronounced very differently from that, so I'm very sorry. If so.
Butchered in Polish.
Yeah. And it is, well, we've got two bikes here. We've got the Fuji D6 and a Bianchi Avaya Nyrone 7, or Nyrone. And it's from Greece. They're getting ready for Ironman 70.3 Greece. Brilliant. Well,
Enjoy.
we do love receiving your photos. And you know what? With there being, well, it's coming to the end of season for a lot of the world. A lot of sort of final events for that. So we'd love to get some of those final transition zones. So please do send them in.
Well, everyone, this is the end of today's GTN show. So just want to say thanks very much for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you for bringing your finely tuned singing skills as well.
Glad you appreciated them.
Very impressed, mate.
And remember, everybody, if you want to subscribe, please do, and you can do that by clicking here.
Yeah, if you'd like to see our T2 for Beginners video, which is quite apt when we're talking about the transition zones today, please just click down here.
And if you're looking to buy a new racing shoe and you're not quite sure and you want a little bit of help, we've made a video on that just here.